Good evening, traveler. Don't speak yet. The walls have ears and the stars remember. Every shadow holds a story, and every name a curse. I'm Whispering Dragon. Sit close, listen carefully, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. Tonight, we wander through shorter tales, echoes from the world of Harry Potter, and at their center, like twin stars in the dark, shine Tom Marvolo Riddle and Draco Malfoy. Draco never liked palaces. Too cold, too ornate, endless halls, where every step echoed, as if the air itself was watching. And yet, this was where he had been summoned. They told him only one thing: you will paint His Majesty's portrait. At first, he thought it was just another commission, another display of power, one more meaningless job he'd trade for gold. But when the doors to the throne room opened, he realized there would be nothing ordinary about this. Tom Riddle sat on the throne, a young king with dark eyes that somehow held too much light and too much darkness. His beauty was unsettling, sharp, almost carved features, lips curved in that faint, knowing smile, hiding both challenge and authority. "Painter," he said quietly, yet his voice sent a chill down Draco's spine. "You will paint me." Draco bowed, trying to mask his irritation. He hated being looked at as a tool, but the king's gaze was such that resisting felt dangerous. The first sessions were the calmest. Draco sat with his easel, brush and paints, while Tom sat across from him. The silence between them felt almost physical. Draco painted carefully, tracing every line, every shadow, every cold glimmer in those eyes. But the more he looked, the less he understood what he was truly seeing. Sometimes, the king broke the silence. "You keep looking down, Malfoy. Raise your head." "I'm looking where I should, Your Majesty." "No. You're afraid to meet my eyes." Draco froze, then slowly lifted his gaze. Tom smiled, as if he had just uncovered a secret. Day by day, the portrait took shape, but with it grew a strange tension. Draco noticed his hands trembling when painting the shadow on the king's lips. His eyes lingered too long on the man's fingers, on the line of his neck, on the way he leaned against the throne. And Tom seemed to enjoy it. He spoke little, but every word cut deep. "You paint me too gently. Do I look like someone who deserves gentleness? I paint what I see." "Lies. You paint what you feel." When the king left, the palace sank into darkness. Draco stayed in his studio, sitting before the portrait, realizing the painted eyes were staring straight into his heart. It felt as if the king had stepped out of the canvas and was still watching. One night, he couldn't resist. He walked closer, touched the wet paint, as if touching skin. Why are you looking at me? Me, like I'm guilty, because you want me to look. The voice came from behind him. Draco turned sharply. Tom stood in the doorway, cloaked in darkness, his eyes gleaming. Your Majesty, Draco stammered. I didn't expect. You should expect, Tom interrupted softly. You should obey. The king stopped in front of him. Too close. Draco could feel his breath. Steady. Calm. Tell me, Painter. Tom's voice was low, almost a whisper. Why do you always paint me? As if I could break. Draco clenched his fists. Because maybe you can. Silence, then a quiet laugh. You're the first who's ever dared to say that. After that, everything changed. The sessions became less like work, more like a game. Tom made him repaint again and again, shift the shadows, chase the light, search for the expression that would reveal the truth. Sometimes he would rise from the throne and come right up to the easel, close enough that Draco could smell his skin, hear the quiet rhythm of his heartbeat. Like this, he whispered, leaning in. Paint me as I truly am. But painting the truth was impossible, because Tom Riddle was too many things at once. A king, a killer, a beauty, a tyrant, a man, a shadow, a light. And the more Draco tried to capture him, the deeper he sank into those eyes, until he could no longer tell where the portrait ended and he began. The candles fade, and the portrait falls silent. But stories never really end, do they? Some wait hidden in shadows, sealed inside whispers and things once touched by magic. One of them is calling again, and we'll follow its voice. There were places in Hogwarts that not even the ghosts knew about. Dungeons hidden by spells, empty corridors leading nowhere. One of those places had become the prison for someone Dumbledore himself had once failed to either destroy or set free. Tom Riddle, the best student, a brilliant mind, a captivating speaker. But he was the first to step where no one was meant to go. In his chase for immortality, he created his first Horcrux. His face remained young, but darkness had settled in his eyes. Dumbledore saw it too soon and understood. If given freedom, Tom would turn the world into chaos. And so, Tom was chained. Spells woven from ancient magic bound his power. He sat in a damp cell beneath Hogwarts, forgotten by all. Only the torches on the walls still flickered faintly, keeping eternal twilight alive. For him, time had stopped. He waited. He waited for Abraxas. the one with whom he had shared secret hours between classes, whose hand he had held under the shadows of the castle at night, whose name had sounded to him like a promise of a future. But Abraxas never came. He searched, Tom knew it, through corridors, through rumors, through the traces of strangers. But he never found him. Time did its work. Abraxas married, became head of the family, grew old, and died, never knowing the truth. Tom remained alone in his prison. Decades later, Hogwarts lived on. Students changed. Professors came and went. Only the stones remembered. No one knew that beneath their feet still sat a prisoner. One night, Draco Malfoy, punished for his insolence during class, was on duty patrolling the corridors. Hogwarts at night was different. Long shadows, whispers, the walls breathing. Draco was bored until he noticed a narrow passage, one not even Potter had marked on his map. Curiosity won over caution. The passage led downwards, deeper and deeper, until it ended at a massive iron door, rusted, yet yielding under his hand. Behind it opened a chamber smelling of damp and ancient magic. In the corner, chained to the wall, sat a man. Young, pale-faced, eyes burning straight through him. The dungeon was silent except for the occasional crackle of the torches. Draco could hear his own heartbeat in his temples as the prisoner looked at him like he'd just seen a long-awaited miracle. Abraxas. The prisoner's voice trembled, tender, almost like a lover's whisper. I knew you'd come. You wouldn't have left me. Draco's fingers tightened on the torch handle until his knuckles turned white. A lump caught in his throat. He wanted to ask what this meant, why he'd been mistaken for his grandfather. But the words stuck. No, he managed finally. It's not him. My name is Draco. Draco Malfoy. The prisoner smiled, strangely, with sadness and warmth at once. Draco, Abraxas, you always liked to play with names, he whispered, and the chains rattled as he leaned closer. But I'd recognize you anywhere. A chill ran down Draco's spine. He realized this man couldn't tell the difference between reality and memory. That gaze clung to him so tightly, it felt like if he stayed even a second longer, he'd drown in someone else's past. He stepped back sharply, nearly dropping the torch. The flame flared brighter, throwing light across the cell. And in that moment, the prisoner's shadow seemed longer, darker, as if the darkness itself was reaching for him. Without thinking, Draco turned and ran. His footsteps echoed through the corridor. His heartbeat drummed in his ears. He didn't look back, only slammed the heavy door shut behind him, as if hoping to lock away not just the prisoner, but the thought of him. When he burst back into the empty night corridor of Hogwarts, the walls seemed to breathe their familiar quiet again. But Draco's breath was still uneven, and in his head, a single phrase kept ringing. Abraxas, you came to save me. These were only a few short tales, among many still waiting to be told. If they manage to light your path, calm your heart, or warm your soul, even for a moment, then stay with me. Stay here on this channel, and together we'll keep moving forward along this new, quiet, and inspiring road.